Folks, you know you're in for a treat when you hear that tune because it's time for another week of the Rec Poker Podcast. That's right, another week of the Rec Poker Podcast. We're in your ears twice a week with the Chats edition coming out every Friday, and this is the Forums edition. So if you're a regular listener and you've subscribed, you're getting this hot off the presses on Tuesday morning. Ouch, careful. Thanks for joining us for another week here. We're going to be talking about a forum post from the Rec Poker forums. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you should, because most of what we do here is free at Rec Poker. We're a largely volunteer-based organization. We just love poker. We're a bunch of enthusiastic recreational players. We study together. We learn together. We coach each other. We celebrate together. And when things don't go our way, we even commiserate together. And we do it all at rec.poker. Come on over and sign up for a free account today. All it takes is an email address and a smile, but we expect both. Like I said, most of what we do here is free, so we really depend on the support of our sponsors, the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. And we also really depend on the support of our premium members. I'm doing great here, by the way, folks. Just really rolling off the tongue like a very natural professional podcast host might. We've got a couple of premium members here in the room tonight, but before we get to them, I have to thank the Wrecking Crew members who you're going to meet. If you don't know, my name's Jim Reed. I'm Bluffsterini in the home game and at Rec Poker Jim on Twitter, but I am just the guy they give the mic on Mondays. I was once a premium member myself, just like these wizards, and if you want to find out more about me and the rest of the Wrecking Crew, you can go to rec.poker/crew, but you can also just listen up because you're going to meet a few of them right here tonight on the air.
I am Chris Jones. You can find me 5B5 on Twitter or 5x5 in the PokerStars home game.
I'm Rob Washam, and you can find me as Rabman50 just about everywhere.
I'm Taylor Moss. You can find me on Twitter at Taylor_Moss or in the Rec Poker home game as Gopherboy, TJM.
And like I said, I am so pleased when our premium members come and join us here on the show. It's just one of the perks of being a premium member. And if you want to get some of those perks yourself, all it takes is $15 a month. But if you use the code RECPOKER, you're going to get your first month for only $5. So come and give us a try. The two premium members I'm so excited to be welcoming to the show tonight are DJ and Doug. DJ, why don't you unmute and tell folks a little bit about where they can find you here at Rec Poker? Oh, DJ is still muted, unfortunately. There he is.
I'm DJ. I am Hawk Plays on the home game, and in the Discord, I'm 85 Hawk. I got started playing around the Moneymaker boom. I turned 18 right around that, right before Moneymaker 1, and I've always really liked psychology and social psychology and math, so poker is kind of right there. And yeah, that's about it for me.
Cheers, DJ. Thanks for joining us. And if you're listening last week, you already know Doug Barron, but Doug, why don't you unmute and tell folks again a little bit about yourself and where they can get a hold of you.
Hi, I'm Doug Behrens. I've been playing for about 15 years. I started playing bar poker before playing tournament poker in the casinos, and then mostly I've been playing online since then, but I'm back in the casinos again, after COVID. So doing a little bit. That's mostly me, and I'm now then KB on PokerStars in the home game.
There you go. If you see someone named Now Then KB stealing your chips, you know who to blame. Now, the forum post we're going to be looking at today is actually from DJ himself. DJ has been a Rec Poker member for quite a while. We were talking pretty regularly last year. He's joined as a very active premium member recently, and it's great to see him in our study groups and posting in the forum. Posting in the forums is one of the ways that a lot of our members get better. It's free, and it just takes a bit of making yourself vulnerable to the rest of the community. You have to kind of put yourself out there a bit and share your uncertainty with the group. But that can be tough to do. So, DJ, thanks for taking that plunge. You're posting a micro stakes hand here from ACR. This is at 1 cent, 2 cent. We're playing 7-handed and a little over 100 big blinds effective. This is a spot where Under the Gun opens to 2 big blinds, and we don't have much information about them. And the middle positions 3 bets to 8 big blinds with pocket nines. under the gun calls, and we go into the flop with 17.5 big blinds. And DJ, our hero, our correspondent here, is the middle position 3-better. The flop comes 8 of spades, 7 of clubs, 6 of spades. And so we have an overpair and the open-ended straight draw. And we do not have the 9 of spades, but that's all the information that we have at this point. So DJ puts in his post, the opponent checks. I consider a small bet, but I don't know what I'm targeting beside draws, and not sure they would continue with a pocket pair below the board. I think they continue with what's beating me and fold what isn't, unless there's a size I could get from the small pairs. I get knowledge of what they likely have with a bet, but I can't get value in my mind. DJ goes in to break down some Flopzilla data, and we'll talk about some other stuff later in the hand. But the first thing that we want to talk about here was whether to c-bet or not to c-bet. And I think it really comes... Well, let's start with that. Chris Jones, you had a great response here early, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. Why don't you just talk about what that first question brought to your mind?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things. I think we always want to think about why we're betting and what we're kind of getting out of taking a betting line action. And number one, we would sometimes bet for value, like we're trying to get worse to call us. And we'll talk about, I actually think like we're part of the description here, discounts says, but I don't know what I'm targeting besides draws. Well, that is part of what you're targeting. You're beating draws right now. And you're going to get value from draws that will want to call. You might even get value from some worse draws, like the single ace of spades might feel compelled on a 2-spade board to call you a couple of times, especially if another spade comes. But in addition, one of the things that's really evident here is that we have a hand that not only has value already, it has equity to draw to something that can be very strong. It has, we're open-ended to a straight, and it needs protection. There's some overcards, and that's another reason that we bet sometimes. We bet for protection. A hand like ace queen that called without any spades is gonna love a free card here, and when we bet, it's going to be an uncomfortable. And if we can get ace queen to fold here by betting, that is a really positive result for us here. So there's a lot of good reasons to bet this hand. And I'll shut up and listen to other people talk about this too.
No, I'm +1 because that's how I was gonna respond to this too. Is there's a lot of hands that have some equity versus us that aren't really going to pay us at any point unless they hit. So if you think about a queen jack of spades, if your opponent flipped over queen jack of spades and said, hey, this is my hand, and you're sitting there with pocket nines, what is your optimal thing to do in this spot? And betting is the optimal thing to do. Don't let them draw to a queen or a jack. They're not really going to improve their hand unless they hit one of those things. So why not bet, get them to fold their 15, 18% equity, whatever they have here, and take down the pot against that specific hand. But that kind of applies to other ones. You've got to deny equity from some of these spots. It's not always I'm value betting and I want something to call me. It's also about denying equity from your opponent. And then obviously, the other draws, a single 10, a single 9 potentially plays this. Spades is going to stick along there with you, and you can get value from them as well. So I think this is a very clear betting spot for us.
And I think Chris was kind of mentioning about this as well, but there are some one pair hands here that you are beating that I think are an excellent value target. So, hands like Jack 8. Well, I guess they are in early position, so that's true. So they shouldn't have that many necessarily of these one pair hands. But you don't know enough about this player to discount it. So
they probably have I mean, it really depends. But in a cash game this deep, they probably have all the ace eight suiteds, which are going to feel obligated to call us. They probably have, there's a decent number of one pair holdings that we are beating.
So let's talk about sizing a little bit here, because I think that there's two ways to think about this. There's how do we calibrate our size in a vacuum, and then there's how do we think about sizing with our particular hand. And there's always some tension between those two things, and I think you don't have to do it the same way every time either. But it's thoughtful. It's good to just be thoughtful about what you might be doing there. Chris, you've talked a lot about different board textures and different protocols for c-betting and sizes for c-betting. In a typical situation, this is a 3-bet pot, and we're in position. So I know we can size down a bit when it comes to 3-bet pots, but on a board 8-7-6 two-tone, when checked to, what does your gut say is sort of like the typical size that you would use here across all circumstances, or in a vacuum, however you want to think about it?
Well, yeah, I think this is very different than if this was like we had opened from middle position and the big blind had called us or something, and we got checked too. In that case, I think this is actually a board that we'll probably be betting in just a single raised pot where we had a middle position open and a big blind call. We're probably betting less frequently and larger on this board. But in this 3-bet situation pot where we've got two pretty strong ranges showing up here on a board that is just dripping wet, I think we want to bet pretty frequently and smaller. So we can accomplish quite a lot here. What was the pot? It's about 17 and a half.
Yeah.
I'm probably betting 6 big blinds here, something like that.
And the goal is not to make them fold their value hands, right? Like, I think this is the sometimes the spot that we get stuck on. They're not going to fold a hand that has like, 2 overs and 2 spades. Like, we're not going to get them to fold their very strong hands. So we don't actually need to price out those very strong draws, because they're not going to fold. They're not going to fold those strong draws anyway. So we're trying to like clean up our equity, I think, as Taylor was saying earlier, to deny equity to our opponent by getting them to the fold hands like, the queen jack of, I don't know what's on here, of hearts or something. Yeah, exactly. Just 2 overs that have a lot, if they knew that we had pocket nines, we definitely want those overcards to go away. And if we can do that for a small price, then that feels like a profitable decision. I really like DJ's breakdown of the range that he puts his opponent on here. So he's got his opponent calling the 3-bet from under the gun and puts them on a range of hands that's basically 2s plus suited aces, and then just a ton of suited Broadway and some offsuit Broadway. And if you look at that range, the vast majority of that range is unpaired overcards to this board. And that's exactly the kind of the part of the range that we're trying to target with a smaller c-bet here. Those king queens, queen jacks, those hands that they have a lot of. You've got them with 177 combos, 14.4%, which I think is a reasonable range that you've given them here. So much of that range is just 2 unpaired overcards. So I think this is a chance to just win the hand here, extract some value from the draws, and you still have to play poker on a future street. But I think your consideration was correct. Let's stop there for 1 second. So people talk a lot, and I talk a lot about there sort of being like 2 reasons for betting for value, which is to get called by worse hands, or betting as a bluff, which is to get better hands to fold. Taylor, can you just talk a little bit about denying equity as a concept, and sort of is it more like one or the other, or is it a subset of one of those two, or is it actually a completely different thing?
Yeah, I mean, I always consider it like two reasons to bet is to like deny equity or to gain equity. Gain equity meaning like getting called by worse hands that you beat, because then you're adding equity to the pot when you're going to win that. And denying equity is reducing the odds of your opponent beating you when, you know, either you're ahead or you've got a bad hand, whatever it may be. But, you know, you don't have this hand locked up 100% of the time. If you can get hands that have some equity versus you, but aren't going to call a bet out of there, like you just clean up that equity, because then you guarantee, you know, when they have that specific hand of like Queen Jack, you win 100% at the time, not 15% of the time, not 20% of the time. Because if you check here, and the Queen, it's a Queen of Clubs on the turn. Well, guess not what? Now Queen Jack beats you, Queen 10 beats you, King Queen beats you, Ace Queen beats you, all those types of things that you could have potentially narrowed down that range of what beats you. And specifically, like why we want to do it here is because we have an overpair to the board, but it is a very vulnerable overpair to the board. Granted, the 10 coming like gives us a straight, but anything Jack or higher actually like really hurts our equity in this hand. So when we're betting here, we're specifically targeting those like higher hands and or those higher card hands that our opponent has, and we're trying to like clean up that equity and make sure that like it's a little bit easier for us to win the hand in the end, instead of checking and seeing an overcard come, because then we're in a really tough spot on the turn.
That's a great explanation. I think some people get caught up on the notion that it's like, but if they have such a bad hand, don't I want them to call? Like, aren't I getting a worse hand to fold when I make that equity denial bet? And I think, Taylor, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you'll say they are folding a worse hand, but is it a function of the price that they're getting? Like, if they are overfolding to the size of your bet, then they're making a mistake and you're winning. So would that mean that like a large bet here would be a mistake, but a small bet is a way for you to make them make a mistake?
I don't think a large bet is a mistake here either. Just because of, I think it all like the bet size really comes down to like, what is your opponent going to call? And going small versus large on sizing is somewhat, you know, related to how much of the range is your opponent going to call in this specific spot. If you're ahead and they're going to call very wide, going big is great, because then you're getting a ton of value from it. If you're potentially ahead, but they're going to fold a lot on very dry boards that are unconnected, where you see a lot of small sizings, like then you're benefiting by getting them to fold a lot of their range. And it really comes down to like, how much does your range like dictate what your opponent's going to continue with in this spot? And I think this is, you know, somewhat of a middling board where you can say like, it is somewhat elastic what your opponent's going to call with here. Like if you put out a bet, are they going to call ace queen? Ace queen still feels, you know, pretty strong. I think you can like really like try and understand like, how is ace queen, how is ace jack going to behave in these spots, and, you know, kind of dictate your bet sizing on some of those types of things, not just that one hand specifically, but sometimes their range of hands that they would continue with here. So to loop back, because I'm rambling a bit, but like, I don't think a big bet size is all that bad. One, because we have an overpair to the board, and two, there's a lot of spade combos that they're going to call with that we're ahead of. And, you know, we would be able to get value or add equity to the pot when they have those holdings. But they're going to fold a lot of their junk. So it doesn't really matter. We're not targeting their junk if we're betting. We maybe are targeting their stronger draws, because a strong draw is going to call for a third. Is a strong draw going to call for 2/3? Probably. And there you can add, you know, a third of the pot to your expected equity in this spot.
That makes sense. Doug, you unmuted there for a sec. What's up?
Yeah, my comment would be everything that I've heard is just excellent if we're playing real poker, but this is a 1-2. And on ACR, I played a fair amount of that until I couldn't figure out how to make any money at it ever because logic didn't apply.
Right.
And so I thought, Taylor Speed was just wonderful if we were playing, a bigger game on ACR, but on the cash game on ACR like that, we're just hemorrhaging chips because of the rate and everything else that's going on there. But, I think the 3-bet comment was still relative, but you got to be careful. They don't let go of their ace kings just because they don't have anything. That's not a requirement on that game.
That's a good point.
But I'd argue that's still relevant though, because like that's part of the conversation that I'm talking about is like how's your opponent going to handle in certain spots here. Like you can definitely argue that ace king should be a call here, but if you know your opponent's going to call ace king, ace queen, ace jack, ace 10, all those just like high card hands because they might not believe you in this spot. Now I want to go big. Like let's hammer the chips in there where we've got that like. It's a spot where if they're going to call us, like we want to put chips in now, while we know we're ahead. Yeah. And it's going to allow us to play pretty easy later on in the hand. So I think you can react to it. And it's just it's that classic like GTO versus exploitive, like how do you handle these spots? And like, I think you can like change up how you'd approach these certain spots, especially in these low stake games to accomplish what you want to accomplish.
Chris, I think you had something there.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say the exact same thing pretty much. I mean, I love that. I just feel like, but to go, I mean, yes, I think we should go if we think that they're gonna like ace queen is just an auto call for them no matter what side. Like, yeah, let's go pot or overbet this and just start to build a pot. I'm excited to get money in this. We're behind some sets. We have draws against pretty much everything. I'm not too scared of where we're sitting in this spot. But the other thing I just wanted to go back to as well is this idea. I think that we do that two kinds of betting that we've been talking about. I do think that some players get a little sort of like twisted around in this idea that if they fold worse, I've lost something. I've lost out on something. And if they fold, we win all of the time. 100% of the time we win. That is a good result. And so the fact that they didn't call you with their king, queen of hearts here, that is a good result. Because if they call you with the king, queen, yes, we have a good hand, and yes, we're very likely to continue to have the best hand on turns and rivers, but a decent portion of the time we're going to lose now when they call it. So it is not a negative result when people fold hands that we are currently beating.
And I think the real please, Ron.
I love that, Chris, because there's been so many times when I've had conversations with people, they'll flop something like trips and they won't bet it because, well, what are they going to call me with that I beat or that I want them to call me, but there's nothing that they can call me with that I'm ahead of, but they're wrong because if you try to slow play these and you try to trap people with them, you end up trapping yourself more often than not. They either have something they can call you with or they don't. And if you have a hand like that, you need to try to get value. And if they fold, well, they didn't have enough to call you with anyway. So you go ahead and put the bet in and don't worry about them folding something that you're ahead of because that's how it works. You make money with your value bets because it protects your bluffs. So you need to continue making those value bets when you have value, period. Don't worry about the rest of the stuff. Now, when you get to the river and you want to make a bet, now you're trying to target what you want them to call with. But on the flop, it's more of a, it's so loosey-goosey on the flop because anything can happen. There's 2 more cards to come. Lots can happen. So get the value when you can. If they fold, well, they didn't have anything they call you with. Go on with the next hand.
DJ, did you have something you wanted to add there?
I just want to say this is all like they're hitting it right on the head. I'm worried about things folding and not getting value out of. I might have there, and also Taylor's idea of thinking about it as gaining equity versus denying equity as betting makes a lot more sense than thinking about value betting versus getting something to fold out for me. But yeah, I think they're hitting it exactly right. I think if I would have had more time and I would have taken a little bit more time, we talked about slowing down a little bit. I think I would have come up with that. And 25 to 33% of the pot is usually like my smaller bet size on when I'm on frequency betting. So I don't think I would have gotten to the bet bigger here at all.
No, and I think that default betting size that you're talking about, like Chris pointed out earlier, given the dynamic of the board, I think that should be like the go-to. And then you're trying to think, okay, what do I know about this player that's going to allow me to move in one direction or the other, especially when it comes to sizing. And I want to just talk about sizing a little bit here, because sizing, this is the area where we get funky with our opponent's ranges. We can contort our opponent's ranges by the sizes we use with our bets and raises. Okay. So if people are feeling confused about like, oh, well, what we don't want them to fold a worse hand than ours, we actually do if we're giving them a price so good that they should have called. When they fold, that's good for us for all sorts of reasons. So, and similarly, if we think that we can get them to call at a bigger sizing, we can get them to call with a value bet at a bigger sizing than they would ordinarily, then we should. That's another mistake. So the mistakes that our opponents can make, it's not just about folding better hands or calling with worse hands. They can also fold worse hands when they were getting such a good price that they should have come along, and they can call with worse hands getting a worse price than they should have. So we can. I'm probably saying this in a very confusing fashion, but if we can get them to, if we can clean up our equity with a very small bet, then that feels like that's just a win on every square of the ledger here. So that's maybe that unlocks some of the kind of tension between these concepts, is that it really comes down to sizing. What we want is our opponent to make mistakes. We want to be giving our opponent the opportunity to make mistakes, and we're going to do that. Essentially, the more sophisticated we get, the more sizing becomes the way that we allow our opponent to make those mistakes. So, I mean, this is a pretty good conversation. I guess we'll just finish the hand here because it's interesting as well. But this was the meat of the discussion that we wanted to get on the show. So DJ continues with his post and says, according to his work with Flopzilla, he's got almost 70% equity here. He's ahead. Maybe need to find a sizing that had a chance of working. And that's the question, is like, working, what is the goal, right? Like what would working look like? And I think we've talked about that a little bit here. So he says he may have been seeing ghosts, but he did check behind. So it goes check, check. Turn comes the 10 of diamonds. So 6 of spades, 7 of clubs, 8 of spades, 10 of diamonds. So there's 4 to a straight there. The opponent shoves. So this is also interesting because we have kind of weakened our own range by checking back on the flop. So we are inviting them to bluff at a higher frequency than they would if we had continued our aggression. But as we've all talked about here, like, we just don't think they have that many nines in their range. And you say in your post, I went from 100% confident pre-flop they didn't have Jack 9 to about 90% because I'd not seen a shove with no hand at showdown at these stakes. So I'm beating all but 4 hands, and a lot of their hands are behind us. And I just want to finish your thoughts here. It felt to you like it was an auto call. They're betting with something, but I'm way ahead. I call. And the question from DJ is, was there a misbet on the flop with that texture? And am I missing something obvious on this call? So I think the group says that consensus is that yes, there was a missed bet on the flop. What about the second question? We can roll on out of here after this one, folks. Was DJ missing something obvious on his call, or was it a good call, or was he just not thinking about all the factors? Rob, you unmuted first. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I ran it in Flopzilla, and I included the Jack 9, even though he didn't have Jack 9 in his original list of hands. But I did include the Jack 9, and at this moment in time, he's got 91% equity, something like that. So, I mean, there's very few hands that he's behind right now. And the only ones that he's behind are Jack 9.
Yeah.
There's only 2 Jack 9 suiteds left.
Because we've got two nines,
2 of the
don't
nines.
forget.
Right.
Yeah.
You've got 2 9s. So there's only 2 combinations of hands that beat you. And anything else that he could be doing this with, you're ahead. So, yes, this is like an automatic boom call.
Yep. I agree. Chris, you'd unmuted earlier.
Well, I just, like Doug was saying, you see some erratic play, especially at lower stakes, these kinds of things. And sometimes we have to get comfortable putting our stack in. We almost have the nuts here, so that's okay. I mean, but we've got to get I mean, I would be, if I didn't have the straight here and it's a 4-liner, if I had like pocket 10s here, given how erratic some of these spots might be, I might even still be able to find a call here. But I think with a 9 here, it's just we have to every time make this call, especially at these stakes, and especially it makes no sense. I mean, they just pile 90 big blinds here after this. We might be chopping. I mean, but the line doesn't make any sense. And sometimes when lines don't make sense, it's because there's just nonsense. And so we got to find a call.
DJ?
Yeah, my mind went blank for a second on this shove. Like I look at the board, and I have the straight, and then the shove comes, and I'm just blank. Like I couldn't figure out what I was missing to that this was a good play.
Turns out you weren't missing anything, buddy. That sounds like... Sorry, Chris.
And go ahead, Chris.
Oh, just the other thing I'll just add, one other note on this is you will often see players take that, although I think based on what I know about this hand, this is not the case here, but you'll often see players take this kind of line when they had something that they were kind of particularly happy with, and then the turn card made it a lot worse. And now they're like, I could see this very easily being like 8-7 or a set of 7s or something that's like, oh no, it's a 4-line. Come on, I was supposed to win this. And then they're just like, here, try this on for size. That's, I think, a very common thing. And so if you see it, it's likely that their hand just got worse.
Rob?
Back to something that Doug said earlier about the players at this level. I've played at this level, and there are some very excellent players at this level. I'll get on a table and I'll have, I'll look around the table and it's like, there's nowhere to get any money on this table. And so you leave because they're all excellent players. But then if you move around and you look for different tables, you find a table, then you find this guy who's going all in all the time with garbage. And you just wait till you have a good hand like Ace Jack, and you call him. And more, he's sitting there with something like 10-7, and he just jammed all his chips in pre-flop. It's just crazy, and you can get paid off. And then after a while, after he's lost a couple times, he'll leave, and then it's all just a bunch of regulars again. So then you leave, go find another table. So there's a bunch of people like us who are sitting there waiting for the whale to show up so we can grab some chips from him. And then when it gets to be all of us just sitting there together, we go, well, this is no fun. We're just trading blinds back and forth. We go to another table. That's what I see when I play on ACR.
Yep. Yep, that's well put. So there is a good post here. So I encourage all our listeners, go check out the forum post. I'm going to put the link to the post in the show notes today. You don't need to be a member. You don't even need to be a free member to view the forum post. You just need to be a free member to post and to respond. But you can see, like Rob's put some screenshots up here from Flopzilla, and DJ. I've got to take my hat off to DJ, who's put some really good analysis into this. He's got a very precise range. He's run it through Flopzilla. He knows what the equity is. This is a really good, well-constructed post with a lot of the information that we would need to make a detailed conversation about that. So well done there. And I want to give a shout out to Charles Allen, B-Chip, who also makes a post response in here that kind of agrees with what we've been talking about. And it's just, but again, really, really well put here. And he also, speaks specifically that you've got these two combos of Jack 9 suited that you have to worry about, and everything else you're crushing. And he says, I'd call without much thought and expect to win a very large majority of the time. And I think he's right. And that does seem to be the consensus here. So, DJ, I think well played, sir. A really good conversation about the flop c-bet opportunity, and I think I really enjoyed that sizing conversation that we had there as well. But I think it was an uncontroversial call, and congratulations on the well played hand, sir. And I just want to thank all our forum participants, our correspondents who come and type in the Rec Poker forums. It's free. It's a great way to get better. I know a lot of our members have mentioned to me specifically that it was a way that they got more involved with the community, and people responded in a way that made them feel welcome and opened their eyes to some strategic elements that they might not have been thinking about. We talk on the show a lot. You can learn on your own. You can do it. I started it. I started learning alone. But you can't really challenge your own assumptions. You can't take an objective look at your game. You don't know what you're doing wrong. And all it takes is joining a free group like Rec Poker to come and share your thoughts and share what you're not sure about. And we're going to tell you, we're going to help you get better. And we're going to point out some of the ways that you could be improving, and you're going to learn more about poker, and then eventually you're going to be one of these people that's helping other people learn more about poker. It's a great group we've got here, so I hope people come and check it out and share their thoughts in the forums here. DJ says, so we should point out, so the villain had ace queen offsuit, as it turns out. So it's exactly one of those kind of spots where they're just like, you don't have a 9 and put it in. But we did have a sneaky 9. In fact, I wonder if DJ won the max here by checking back as it happened, because I'm not sure that they take that lead turn shove into their playbook if we had c-bet the flop. So you never know. Sometimes the wrong play at the right time can be just the ticket. That's kind of like the Bluffsterini method. DJ, I saw you unmute there. Parting thoughts for our audience?
I was just going to say, like, my past 2 sessions have been these kind of hands where people have gone all in, and I can't figure out how I've made money off of, off of people making these kind of decisions. But
we make money when other people make mistakes in poker. Other people are going to make, this is your goal. Your goal as a recreational poker player isn't to play flawlessly. It's to make fewer mistakes and smaller mistakes than your opponents. And that's the best we can do, buddy. That's the best we can do. So that's what a winning day looks like for recreational poker players. Just making fewer mistakes and smaller mistakes and letting your opponent's chips flow over to our side of the table. Just like we're going to flow on out of here. Like that, folks? A little segue, a little professional podcast host segue. So thanks to DJ for the fantastic post and for coming on the show tonight with Doug. Thanks, Doug. It's always great talking to you guys. I got to thank the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. And, of course, Taylor, Rob, and Chris. We couldn't do it without you guys. And you, the listeners. We'll be here next week. I hope you are, too. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you then.